Hello world, this is Mahendra and welcome to the Mixed where I create videos around design, web development, some useful tips and tricks. Then if you're into it, then make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos. If you're into web development, then you might know that managing your own databases or your own servers or writing the backend code is a bit of a pain. Here, the Firebase comes into picture where Firebase provides us with services such as real-time databases or the cloud file store and the authentication services there, where we can leverage this service by simply calling their functions that Google provides us. So that's on the one side, and on the other side, I guess React.js is a great library for creating UIs, and Next.js is the best framework that React has till now. So let's put these two aspects together, that is the Firebase and Next.js, and in this series of videos I will show you how you can add the Firebase to your Next.js project and how you can perform different functionalities such as authentication, then CRUD operation using Cloud Firestore or the real-time database, etc. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Now for this, open up your terminal and navigate to the directory where you want to create the project. So I will navigate to my directory. Now for this I have written down some commands in my text editor so that I don't have to remember them. And I don't want you to remember them as well, so I will link down these commands in the description so that you can copy and paste them. So the first command is for creating the Nexus app. I'm calling it as Firebase example, but you can call it whatever you want. It's totally up to you. Press enter. Now my internet connection is slow, so it will take some time. So I will come back on the other side. Now it's done. So I will cd into the directory that I have created. And let me clear the screen. After this, we will install the dependencies. For this project, I'm using Tailwind CSS and Firebase. The Tailwind CSS part is totally optional. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. You can use plain CSS as well, but I'm using Tailwind CSS because it's great. Now the Tailwind is installed. Let's install the Firebase as well. Copy the command and paste it in the terminal. Also, I'm using Yarn as package manager, but you can use npm as well. It's also up to you. If you are doing this for the first time, then this might take some time. So be patient. It took a while, but the Firebase is also installed. Now we will open our favorite code editor or text editor. For this, I'm using Visual Studio Code, but you can use it whatever you want. I will type code space dot as I'm using Visual Studio Code, but you have to figure out about your own text editor what the command is. Now our project is open in the Visual Studio Code. Now for following along, I will suggest three extensions for Visual Studio Code which will help us write the code quickly. So let me go to the marketplace. I have downloaded all these extensions. The first one is Prettier, which is a code formatter so that you can format your code with a right click. That was the first one. The second one is, it has a long name, the ES7 React Native GraphQL. It's basically it basically provides snippets of code so that you don't have to build the components entirely. Just type in a word and you will get a boilerplate code. And lastly, the Tailwind CSS. This plugin or this extension gives us the auto complete for the styles with Tailwind and the visuals as you can see in this picture. So it's up to you if you want to install these extensions, but they totally provide us with a great experience. Now, as those are installed, we will have to uh, do some setup for, as we are using Tailwind CSS, we don't want any of the styles, so I will delete the styles folder. And also, the Next.js gives us a lot of boilerplate code. We don't want that, so I will go to index.js and delete all the code. Yeah, so here you can create your component, but if you have installed that extension, then you will get this keyword RAFCE, with which you can create a functional component and give it a name. For the initial, I will give some boilerplate text, and here the second extension comes into picture with which you can format the code. I will set the formatter as Prettier, and you can see the code is formatted. Let me save and close the file. Now after this, go ahead and open up underscore app.js. Here we have imported the file which is no longer there in the styles folder. So copy and paste the import statement from down in the description and replace the import inside underscore app.js. Now we haven't actually initialized the Tailwind CSS. So for that we'll have to initialize the Tailwind CSS first. The Tailwind CSS provides us with two files, which the first one is tailwind config.js and the second one is postcss config.js. So for that you can open up the terminal right here in the Visual Studio Code, or you can use external terminal, that is your system terminal. So I will open up my system terminal that I have already opened and copy the initialization command from the text editor and paste it in the terminal. Now as you can see, it has created two files. The first one is tailwind config and the second one is post css. We don't have to worry about the post css file because we are going to focus on the tailwind config. Now if you open up the tailwind config, you can see an array of purge. So let me copy and paste the purge command from the, or the purge line from the text editor, and I will tell you what it is. Let me copy it and replace it. So what purge actually does is it takes all the unused styles from your different folders or your different pages or your different components and trims them down so that you can get a minimal size of CSS, or you can ship the minimal size of CSS. Now all of our commands are completed and we have a complete setup. So let's go ahead and test our setup. So open up the terminal and type yarn dev. If you are using npm, then you can type npm run dev. I'm using yarn, so I will type yarn dev and hit enter. Now it shows that our server is running at localhost colon 3000. So press down the control key and click on the URL. Now this will open up the web page in our browser, and yep, you can see that the output is rendered. So that was it for this video where we have a basic setup. Now in the next video we will set up the Firebase. Till then, auf Wiedersehen.